Daytona is one of the most famous tracks in American motorsports. The ARCA Menard Series race there is known for being wild and unpredictable. Many experienced drivers struggle to finish the race because of crashes, high speeds, and tough competition. But Cleetus was ready to prove that he could handle it. He has over 2.5 million followers on Facebook. This is more than some professional race car drivers, and his fans love him not just because he races cars, but because he makes everything fun. He has built a brand around his personality. People know him for his catchphrases, his love for big engines, and his ability to put on a great show. But when he got into that race car, it was serious. Many people questioned if he was just there for entertainment or if he truly wanted to race. The truth is, he took it very seriously. Racing at Daytona is dangerous. Speeds can reach over 180 miles an hour, and one small mistake can cause a huge crash. But Cleetus was not just there to mess around, he trained, practiced, and prepared for the race like any other driver. Kenny Wallace shared his thoughts on Cleetus. He said that while Cleetus plays a character online, he is also a smart and successful businessman. He did not just show up at Daytona as a joke, he was there to compete. But at the same time, he knew how to entertain. When the Fox TV cameras pointed at him, he turned on his full Cleetus McFarland energy. He knew that if he was going to be in the race, he might as well make it memorable. This is something that separates Cleetus from other racers. Most drivers focus only on racing, but Cleetus understands the power of entertainment. He knows that fans want excitement, not just cars going in circles. This is why he has millions of followers. He makes racing fun to watch. John Force, a legendary drag racer, once said that when you have a bad race, you should still put on a great interview. People might forget who won a race, but they still remember a driver who makes them laugh or tells a great story. Cleetus understands this better than anyone. That is why, even though he took the race seriously, he also made sure to give fans something to talk about. But beyond the entertainment, there is no doubt that Cleetus loves racing. He has been involved in motorsports for years. He owns the Freedom Factory, a racetrack in Florida where he hosts races and cars events. He builds race cars, competes in different types of motorsports, and has a deep passion for speed. The ARCA Menard Series race at Daytona was one of the most exciting races in recent history. From the very start, chaos took over. Just a few laps into the race, a massive 15-car wreck shook up the entire field. Cars spun in all directions, slamming into each other and the walls. Some drivers were taken out of the race immediately, while others continued with heavy damage. Only a few managed to escape the crash without a scratch. Among them was Butterbean, who was driving the number 28 car for Pinnacle Racing Group. Butterbean's performance was nothing short of incredible. He had already made a name for himself in short track racing, but winning at Daytona is an entirely different challenge. This track requires experience, patience, and a little bit of luck. Despite being relatively new to this level of racing, Butterbean stayed calm while others lost control. His ability to avoid trouble put him in a perfect position to fight for the win. As the race went on, wreck after wreck took out more cars. By the final laps, only Butterbean had one of the fastest cars on track, and he used it to his advantage. He led the last 7 laps and held off his competitors to take the flag. For Butterbean, this one was life-changing. Winning at Daytona, even in the ARCA Series, gets a driver noticed. People immediately started talking about his future. But while Butterbean won the race, Cleetus McFarland won the hearts of the fans. McFarland is not a full-time race car driver. He is best known for his YouTube channel, where he creates wild automotive content. He has millions of followers who love his crazy car builds and high-energy videos. He is not a NASCAR prospect, but his entry into this race changed everything. From the moment McFarland got on track, he brought a new kind of excitement. NASCAR knew how big his fan base was, so they leaned into it. They set up a special in-car camera and live-streamed his race experience on YouTube. The results were unbelievable. At one point, over 50,000 people were watching his onboard feed live. These numbers were almost unheard of for an ARCA race. This showed just how powerful social media is in today's world of motorsports, but McFarland was not just there for fun, he actually raced well. He avoided early wrecks and made smart moves to gain positions. At one point, he narrowly dodged a massive crash by just a few inches. His real-time reaction was caught on camera, but it was priceless. He celebrated like a kid who just won the lottery, yelling in excitement. Fans loved his energy. It was raw and unfiltered, something that modern NASCAR has been missing for years. Unfortunately, his race ended early. Amber Balkan lost control of her car and spun directly into McFarland. He had nowhere to go. The crash destroyed his car and forced him out of the race, but instead of being disappointed, McFarland turned the moment into something special. Fox interviewed him right after the wreck, and what happened next was legendary. Most drivers, when they get taken out of a race, give boring, standard answers. They usually say things like wrong place, wrong time, or tough break, but we'll move on. Not McFarland, he was still filled with adrenaline. He didn't sound disappointed at all. Instead, he talked about how insane the race was, how fast everything happened, and how much fun he had. He was laughing, completely hyped up and clearly enjoying every second. Fans went crazy for his interview, social media exploded with clips of McFarland's reaction, even people who had never watched a NASCAR race before were sharing it. This was a moment that reminded everyone why racing is fun. For years, NASCAR interviews have become robotic. Drivers are too polished, they thank their sponsors, avoid controversy, and stick to a strict script. McFarland, on the other hand, was completely unfiltered. He showed real personality and people loved it. He brought back the kind of energy that NASCAR used to have. It reminded fans of the days when drivers like Dale Earnhardt and Tony Stewart were not afraid to be themselves. McFarland may not be a full-time racer, but in one weekend, he did something many NASCAR drivers have not done in years. He made people care. His presence brought in thousands of new fans who might have never watched an ARCA race otherwise. If NASCAR gave him a shot in the Xfinity or Cup Series, the buzz would be massive. This is not the first time an outsider has brought excitement to NASCAR. Years ago, Travis Pastrana, a motocross and rally legend, ran a few NASCAR races. And we loved it. Even drivers like Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. became stars because they had real personalities that connected with people. But over time, NASCAR moved away from that. The sport became too corporate and careful, drivers became media-trained robots, afraid to say anything that might upset sponsors. McFarland again reminded everyone that racing is supposed to be exciting. It is supposed to be fun, and sometimes it is supposed to be a little bit chaotic. Even after his race ended, McFarland was not done. Instead of disappearing after his crash, NASCAR made a smart decision. They invited him into the broadcast booth to commentate on the rest of the race, and there is an ongoing debate about whether NASCAR and other racing series should become more entertainment-focused. Some people think that every driver should have a unique character, like wrestlers in WWE. They believe this would make racing more exciting for fans, while others think that racing should stay serious and professional. Cleetus shows that it is possible to do both. He proves that you can be a great driver and a great entertainer at the same time. Some NASCAR drivers have started to embrace this idea, and in recent years, drivers like Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch have gained attention not just for their racing skills, but for their personalities. Fans love drivers who show emotion, celebrate victories in fun ways, and interact with their supporters. The big question is, should all NASCAR drivers start acting like characters? What if Brad Keselowski changed his accent or created a new persona? Would it make NASCAR more popular? Cleetus has already proven that personality can bring new fans to racing. Many of his followers were not traditional NASCAR fans, but they tuned in to watch him race at Daytona. This is the power of entertainment. It brings new people into the sport, but at the same time, racing is still a serious and dangerous competition. When Cleetus was on that track, he was risking his life like every other driver. That is why even though he played his character when the cameras were on, he did not treat the race like a joke. He showed that he respected the sport and the risks that come with it. So, that's all we have for today's episode. And before you leave, Just don't forget to give this video a like, smash that subscribe button, and also ring that notification bell for more upcoming content.